Hello, I'm Dr. Donald F. Karatko, or more widely known as Dr. K, my nickname, and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Insights with Dr. K, where we bring you the thoughts and insights from the entrepreneurial world, insights that matter for future entrepreneurs. In today's segment, we are proud to feature Neal Rickner. He is a tech executive that specializes in advancing new ventures through early stage growth. He has led multiple teams at Google, including Helpouts, a live video online learning startup within Google Inc., and is currently the Chief Operating Officer of Makani, a next-generation wind turbine company owned by Alphabet. Before coming to Silicon Valley, Neal had served 12 years on active duty with the U.S. Marine Corps as an FA-18 pilot and forward air controller. He completed 3 active tours of duty in Iraq between 2003 and 2007, earning the Bronze Star with Valor Device, and, really significantly, 13 air medals. He transitioned from active duty in 2009, earning dual master's degrees in business and international affairs from Columbia University. In addition to his professional endeavors, Neal is a Tillman Scholar. He volunteers as a big brother for the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America. He's on the advisory boards of the International Refugee Assistance Project and the Vets in Tech. He's also a member of the Truman National Security Project's Defense Council. And I should also mention we're proud that he's also a member of our West Coast Advisory Board that we have in Silicon Valley, and he is a dear and valuable member of that. So I had to pitch that in there. So Neal, it's an honor to have you here at Indiana University and to honor you today with our Distinguished Entrepreneurial Leadership Award. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Great. So I've got a couple questions, as I do with all the guests and stuff that we do on these insights. And so, one is from your experiences as a leader of innovative companies, through Google and stuff, and Alphabet, and of course, background in the Marines too. I don't want to leave that out because that's powerful. But briefly describe the most important elements for success in your view.
Yeah, it's definitely a few things. I think top of mind for me though is just comfort in ambiguity. Mm-hmm. It's certainly important to plan, to think things through. We learned that in the military from a very early age, and certainly in the business world, you have to think through what your objectives are and really come up with a sound plan. But then recognize that as you're marching into the unknown, ambiguity is going to be a part of everyday life. And really, most people are just trying to figure out what the problem is, much less what the solution is. Yeah. So if you can sort of just embrace that chaos, recognize that there's opportunity in chaos, be comfortable in that ambiguity, that there isn't going to be a clear answer, and then just get started. Just do something, get some feedback, learn from mistakes, and then march on from there. And that ambiguity that you're comfortable in sort of will shrink and expand as you go through a process to more move forward. But I would say it sort of centers around that comfort and ambiguity.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. Good answer that I've never heard before, but I love that. I think that's so true. I assume you believe in the concept of an innovative mindset, or as I like to call it, the entrepreneurial mindset. Can you explain exactly what that would mean to you, to our viewers out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I sort of touched on it before in terms of iteration. Right. When I think of an innovation mindset, I think about sort of trying things, seeing what works. If you're creating a software project or product, then go get early feedback from potential users. If you're creating a piece of hardware, build it and see how it works, and then figure out what doesn't work. But sort of that innovative mindset to me is being brave enough to get started, being brave enough to put something out in the world and get feedback on it, understand and learn from getting out in the world, and then embracing that it's not going to be perfect, embracing that you're going to fail in some instances, that it's not going to be what you had imagined it to be, and to be open to that and to react honestly to it. We have a saying in the military that you fight the enemy as they come, not the enemy that you want to fight. So in a similar way in the business world, you have to exist in the strategic environment that is presented to you, and you have to accept reality for what it is. And too often, I think folks get sort of they fall in love with their idea, their solution.
How true.
And then they end up sticking with an idea or a solution too long.
Too long, yeah. Really good. So, Neal, after all your military success, why then did you transition and seek future innovations, as I call them, in the tech space? Why that transition?
Yeah, I would say, I joined the military because I loved country and absolutely wanted to fly, and I put those two things together and was honored to serve. It was an opportunity to do great things and to learn a lot and to contribute, and I feel like I made my contribution. But I had other passions as well. I was very interested, in my case, in green energy and renewables, in doing something to combat climate change. And for me, the tech space was a powerful way to have impact beyond my immediate circumstances. So I feel like the transition to me was, I'd made my contribution in the military, I had other passions, and luckily I think I've been able to bring some of the lessons that I learned in the military and apply them in the tech space for good use.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. It's interesting when you think about it, you really dove in with the Marines and as a pilot to really get engaged to serve America, and now to make a change in, like you said, the environment stuff, you dive into the tech space, which is the future. So it kind of fits exactly what you're talking about. You're living what you're preaching, which I think is fabulous. So being with Google X now and now Alphabet and stuff, what are some of the most enlightening insights that you learned along the way in that tech space?
Yeah, I learned a lot from being a part of X, or Google X, as it was once known. We're now just X. I think the most important was this mantra we have inside, which is go with the hardest part of the problem first.
Right.
And I think too often we get comfortable solving the problems we know we can solve, and we leave the harder problems for later, when in fact the real innovation happens at those harder problems. And so, look, if you can go after those harder problems now and learn as you will when you start doing things, as we discussed before, go with those harder problems now, that's where the real advancements, the real innovation is going to happen. And look, if you know you can solve those easier problems at some point, then put those off and solve those when you've solved the harder problem. Those easier problems will come along after. So I think we at McConney were very much in this mode of solving a bunch of problems that, in hindsight, were the easier ones.
Yeah.
And I think X provided some feedback to us that said, look, you can do those easier problems anytime.
Right.
But what we really care about, what we really need to see is this thing work, this part of the problem. And so work on that. And so we did. We shifted a lot of our resources and effort to solve the real sort of existential, the hard problem. And I think in hindsight that was truly valuable insight, because that's what's led us to where we are today, the successes we've had.
Yeah. That fits something I heard some years ago. A speaker said that the future is not about optimizing what we already know, exactly what you're talking about, but by embracing the unknown. And if we embrace the unknown, as you're saying, that's where the opportunities lie.
Absolutely.
And I just think that fits exactly. So,
yeah,
insightful. I like that a lot that you've learned that. What are, for our young aspiring innovators and entrepreneurs out there, in all of our universities, but certainly here at Indiana University, what are some key elements that you've learned now and you'd now recommend for them to understand about as they look at their futures?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are many things that are that have helped me grow over my career. I think what has been most valuable to me is essentially just not to try to figure it all out now.
Right.
That my career, if you think about your career as a crossing a creek from stone to stone, you don't have to have a map of where every stone is along that journey across the creek. But maybe if you take the first step to that first stone, there will be other stones that are revealed to you once you get to that first step. What's important to remember is that first step is true to you. It's something you want to do, and it's something you're passionate about. And then once you get to through that first step, other things will become apparent. So I think, especially coming out of the military, I spent a lot of time trying to just sort out what the whole path looked like, where I was going to end up, and how I could get there.
Right.
And in hindsight, I think it was much more valuable to just take a first step that felt true to me, that was, as I said, something I was passionate about, something I wanted to do, rather than, I think, what was maybe more conventional, which would have been to follow a specific career path or to follow somebody else's advice. I think taking that first step then revealed other avenues that I wasn't aware of before I took that first step. So.
Yeah, I think that's powerful because a lot of times we've tried to tell students, follow your passions, and we've had critics that say, well, that's too nebulous. What does that mean? What's the concrete path? Like you're saying, what are all the stones ahead?
Yeah.
And I love your analogy because we're saying, no, have the courage to make that first step like you're talking about, and things will unfold. You might pivot, you might change, but they'll unfold. So I love that as an analogy and as advice for the students, because I hope they're all listening to this, because I think it's powerful. So, any final thoughts for the students out there that are watching?
No, I'm just encouraged by sort of innovators that are ready to get out there and get to work. There are so many problems to solve. There are so many great solutions out there that are waiting to be revealed to the world. So I'm just excited for everybody to get out there. It's a community of folks that are that with like minds that can learn from each other and then go off and do great things. And so I look forward to seeing what your students and
that's great
and this community can invent and innovate and bring to the world.
Yeah, that's great. That's perfect. That's great advice. So thanks so much, Neal, for being part of this today and sharing some of these really great insights that I think they really are. I'm right on. I just love it. So it's been a pleasure having you on the segment. And so thanks again, and we're looking forward to honoring you today, and it's going to be a great event. So
great.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
It's very special
Thanks for having
to
us.
Well, that does it for this segment of the Entrepreneurial Insights with Dr. K. This and other interviews can be found on the Johnson Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation website. That's at kelly.iu.edu/JCEI. So until next time, that we're together, my very best wishes to all of you, and never forget to make each day truly an entrepreneurial day.